Today I added something really cool to my collection, and it's this. And it's a calculator, obviously, and at first glance it looks more similar to something like this than something like this, maybe, or this, because these two are pocket calculators, and these two are desktop calculators. Let's leave this one aside. I got this from a Kickstarter, and let's talk about this guy. It looks like a normal calculator at first, and you can definitely do some calculations. 5 plus 9 is 14, and you can see it gives you two decimals here, and that's because, maybe if you can see this 2 here, you can actually change this here. You give it 3. If I set it to 4 and I do the same thing again, I do 5 plus 9, then we get this, we get 4 decimals. You can also change this to an F, which stands for float, as you would imagine from computer science, a floating point number. And now if I do 5 plus 9, it just says 14. That's something that you would expect from any calculator. 5 plus 9, 14. The reason why you have this function to choose the number of decimals you want is because this is something used by salespeople. So you have functions like cost, sell, margin calculations. You can have the time displayed here. Time means date, and if you press it again, you get the time. You can have taxes added or deducted. For example, if you buy something for 100 and then you set the tax at before, and then you just press this button and you get the tax on top. In Germany, the value added tax is 19%, so that's why I set it to 19. But probably the most interesting feature of this calculator is obviously the fact that it's also a printer. So when you go to a store, maybe once upon a time in the 80s or something, you would go to the store, you would give the cashier all your stuff, and then he would go, okay, this thing's $5. The next thing is $9. Next thing is $120. Maybe you got some speakers or something. And then we also have some, I don't know, something for $52. And then you would be like, okay, that makes $186. Let's add the sales tax on top of that. And your total would be $221. And then you would press this button a few times and give you your receipt. At first it tells you, okay, I'm ready, and then it starts printing everything that you do. So 5 plus 9 is the first thing we did, plus 120, plus 52, and it gives you that result. And then it takes that result, adds the 19% to it. It actually tells you how much is the tax. The 35.34 is the delta, which means difference, and adds it on top of the 186, giving you 221 in total. Of course, if you want to sell something at a discount, you can also go ahead and say, okay, this would normally be $25, and maybe like 31 cents. But, you know, because it's you, I'm going to subtract 10% from the price. Press the percent button, and it actually does it for you like that. And then you only have to pay $22.78. And then you can feed that up again and see it printed here on the sheet. Some more cool things you can do is when you're a store owner and you have something like, let's say you want to sell this calculator, and you know you bought it for, let's say, $100. You can say 100 is the cost, and I want to sell it for $250, and I want to know what is the margin on that. So I said 250, press the sell button, and it'll tell me the margin is 60%. And this is percent. As you can see, when we print it out, it actually says M% for margin percent. And we can also do this differently. I can say, okay, I bought it for $100, and I want to put a, let's say, 50% margin on it. Then I press 50, and I press the margin button, and it'll tell you that I will have to sell it for $200. Calculator also has a nice function of getting the reciprocal of something really quick. If you say you have like 6 plus 8 plus 3 and you want the reciprocal of that, you just press plus, and then you press the divide button, equals again, and you get the reciprocal of that, which in this case turns out to be 0.06. Of course, if I go ahead and set this to floating point again, like this, And we do the same thing again, equals again. And then we get the reciprocal in a much more precise format. And we can feed it up again and see it printed right here. 3 plus 6 plus 5 is 14. And then we do 1 divided by that, and that gives us this number. Of course, when you're printing a receipt, you also want on the top of it maybe, or on the bottom, you want to have the time and the date. So you just press this button twice, and it prints the date and the time. But how does it work, Gauner? I hear you cry. Well, we can open it up, and I'll show you. This just slides forward, and then you can just lift it up, take it out of the way. And then we can pull out the receipt roll like this. And we can look at this mechanism while it prints something. And just because that's really quick, let me show you that in slow motion. So behind this little piece of plastic here, when you pop it up, you can see an ink cartridge, which will stain your fingers, and you can change these out. There's a little ink roll behind this thing, as I just showed you, and these two symbol wheels roll against that ink thing, and if I just press my fingers on it, you can see they have ink on them, and that is how they put the ink on the paper, obviously. And as you saw in the slow motion, every time it prints, but with every letter, it actually rolls the thing 360 degrees against the ink cartridge to get ink on all of the letters again, all of the symbols and numbers. Then with every letter that has to be printed, this little tab comes forward right here. And if you look right there, as this tab comes forward, it pushes out one of the belts, one of the symbol belts, and presses it against the paper. That is how you can print the meaning of life onto a piece of paper with a calculator.